Of course. Here's a long-form horror story written in the style of an immersive narrative essay, set in the United States.
I never believed in evil until I moved to the house in Montana.
Not the sort of evil people talk about on the news: violence, crime, the everyday chaos of the world.
I'm talking about something older.
Something that doesn't walk on two legs, something that doesn't breathe the same air we do. Evil that waits, quiet and ancient, tucked between pine trees and buried under the weight of forgotten soil. I moved there in late September. The house was secluded, about 30 miles north of Helena, at the end of an unpaved road that snaked through forest so dense the sun struggled to find its way in.
I thought I was buying silence. A chance to be away from everything. City sirens, past mistakes, and people who wouldn't stop talking. I thought I'd find peace. Instead, I found something else.
The first few nights were still.
No howling wind, no rustling trees. Just dead quiet. The kind of quiet that makes your ears ring.
I'd sit on the porch and watch the horizon disappear behind black treetops.
The moon seemed farther away there. Cold and expressionless.
By the fifth night, the silence had grown teeth.
I heard it first around 2:30 a.m. A dragging sound along the back porch.
Like someone was pulling a wet burlap sack across the wood.
It didn't stop until just before dawn.
I checked the next morning, expecting to find animal tracks or maybe a branch that had fallen and been swept by the wind. But there was nothing.
No marks. No footprints. Just my own unease.
A week later, I started waking up with my bedroom window open.
Always at 3:08 a.m. I would lock it every night, I was sure of that.
I even started placing a small wooden wedge under it, one that made a loud snap when moved. Still, every morning, the wedge was across the room and the window stood open, letting in the cold breath of the forest. I began sleeping with a flashlight under my pillow, then a hunting knife.
It didn't help. There were claw marks on the walls by the second week. At first, faint. Like a cat maybe. But I didn't have a cat.
Then they deepened. 5 grooves, too wide for any house pet.
Too deliberate.
They started appearing in different rooms.
First the hallway. Then the kitchen. Then, on the inside of my closet door.
The gouges were fresh, the wood splintered and curled outward as if something had clawed its way in.
I stopped sleeping. The thing about isolation is that you start questioning everything. Was it exhaustion? A breakdown? I didn't have visitors. No one ever drove down that road except the mailman, and even he looked uneasy when he got out of the truck.
I caught him one afternoon staring at the tree line across the road, lips tight, eyes narrowed. When he noticed me watching, he shook his head and left without a word.
Then came the knocking. 3 sharp knocks on the front door. Every night. 3:08 a.m. Always 3 knocks. Never more. Never less. I never answered.
I just sat in my bed, blade in hand, heart beating like a war drum in my chest. It would knock, wait a moment, then knock again. Sometimes I'd hear footsteps around the house afterward, like bare feet on brittle leaves, circling, as if whatever it was trying to find a way in. I called the sheriff once. He drove out, spent less than 5 minutes at the property, then gave me a long stare before saying, "You need to leave.
If you can. People don't last long out here. Not alone."
That's all he said before getting back in his cruiser and disappearing down the dirt road. By then, the mirrors had started to change.
I'd catch glimpses of movement in them. Not mine. Not reflections. Something standing behind me. Tall. Thin. Pale arms too long for its body. Its face was always a blur, like heat rising from asphalt.
The bathroom mirror cracked on its own one night, a single jagged line from corner to corner, right across where the thing's face would have been. I nailed plywood over all the mirrors after that.
Didn't help.
On the 23rd night, the knocking stopped.
I should have been relieved. Instead, it filled me with dread. Because that was the night I heard it speak. Not in words. In sounds.
Wet, guttural, animal-like syllables that scraped against the windows and swirled into my ears.
My nose bled. My knees gave out. And in that moment, I knew it was inside the house. I fled. Into the woods.
Barefoot, panicked, half-mad with fear.
I don't remember much of that night.
I remember falling, branches slicing into my arms, the scream of something inhuman echoing through the trees.
I ran until I couldn't feel my legs.
Passed out on a patch of gravel miles from the house.
A passing truck found me the next morning.
They said I was in shock.
Hypothermic.
I spent 3 weeks in a hospital. The doctors tried to explain it all away: sleep paralysis, hallucinations, isolation-induced psychosis.
But they didn't see what I saw. I've never gone back. I never will.
2 months ago, I got a call from the real estate agent who sold me the place.
He asked if I ever noticed anything strange there. I asked why. He said the new owners hadn't lasted a week.
They were found huddled in the basement, eyes wide, mouths open, hands covering their ears.
They didn't speak. Haven't spoken since.
And when they were brought out, every mirror in the house was shattered.
Every door nailed shut from the inside. The house is still on the market. But no one will buy it.
Sometimes, I still wake at 3:08 a.m.
And when I do, I swear I can still hear it knocking. 3 times. Always 3. After I got out of the hospital, I never went near the woods again. I rented a small apartment deep in the city. Every corner was lit. Every door was brand new. But still, every night at 3:08 a.m., I would wake up wide-eyed, heart pounding. Then, one night, it ended, or maybe, it truly began. That night, the old radio in the corner of my bedroom, one I hadn't touched in months, suddenly turned on by itself. No static. No music. Just a sound, 3 knocks. Like someone was at the door. But there was no door.
The knocks came through the speaker.
Then a whisper followed. Breathless. Wet. Ancient. Come back. I froze. 2 days later, I received a package. No return address. Inside was a black and white photo of the old house. But in the window, there was a face. Blurry. Elongated. The same long arms. The same unreadable features hidden behind the blur. That night, I understood this wasn't something I had escaped. It wasn't tied to that house. It had come with me. I tried everything. Priests. Churches. Burning sage. Moving apartments. Nothing worked.
One old priest told me, "This isn't a ghost.
This is memory. And memories never leave." The last time I heard its voice, it said just one word. Inside.
That night, I stood in the middle of my room, tears in my eyes, an old knife in my hand.
The door opened on its own.
There was no light, just a darkness deeper than dark.
And I stepped through.
I'm writing this now because someone else might find that house.
Someone else might think solitude brings peace. But remember, it always begins in silence. And by the time you realize it, you're not alone. One last thing.
If someone knocks at 3:08 a.m.,
don't ever open the door.
If you enjoyed this story, feel free to share it with your close friends, family, or anyone who loves a good scare. Your support, likes, shares, and comments helps us create even more chilling and unforgettable stories.
Thank you for reading. Stay safe. And remember, never open the door at 3:08 a.m.